Here is a movie set in New Jersey, across the street from William Franklin's estate. The gimmick of the movie is something I was skeptical of to start with. The camera doesn't move. We get images of this spot on the day the dinosaurs died, but there's a lot more focus on the time from the Revolutionary War to the present. I was extremely skeptical that a cohesive message could be given this way. In the end, the movie pulled together very well. The movie is organized topically rather than sequentially, which helps to highlight the difference between the generations and the unity of humanity. One thing that the movie did that felt like cheating a little is that the Young family covered two full generations, with Al Young moving in right after an honorable discharge from the military during World War II, then having children that included Richard Young, who ended up getting his girlfriend Margaret pregnant, and then they lived there until they retire in the early 2000s. This kind of makes the Youngs the main family, covering more than 60 years. However, there were other families that included the inventor of the Lazaboy recliner, an early aviation enthusiast, and a pre-Columbian native couple. That the Youngs get so much screen time seems to have more to do with them covering two generations more than them being seen as more relevant or anything like that. I can't comment on this movie without saying that the visual effects are amazing. Tom Hanks has been a staple of cinema for my entire adult life, and to see him transformed into a teenager, a young man, and a retire was amazing. One of the many exemplary themes of the movie is sacrifice for the sake of family. We see this played out in several ways in different generations. The native warrior makes a necklace for his love. The aviator refuses to give up his expensive and dangerous passion, and so on. One of the most remarkable ways was Richard Young. As a young man, he enjoyed painting. As he looked for work to support his new family, he continued to paint, hoping to find some way to break into the art world instead of working a 9-to-5 job. They took over the living room and everything we could see in their time frame. But the day he got his 9-to-5 job, he put his paints and pencils away, and art became a spare-time hobby that only came up when he was done with his work and his time with his family. He never brought it up as a sacrifice, though his true feelings could be seen on his face and heard in his voice when Margaret asked him why he gave it up years later. I love movies and books that play with our perception and make us think about our point of view. My most recent book is a continuation of my own attempt to do that. A Forgotten Hero began with a writing challenge: write a story in the second person. I wanted to go a step further. I wanted it to make sense that the story is told in the second person. The hero that's forgotten himself is just a regular person, but his life intersected with elves that live among us when he was a teen. In an epic adventure, he had to battle a magic-wielding killer bent on destruction. Unfortunately, as soon as he stops interacting with the elves, he forgets everything he has done or said. The story is therefore told to him again as an adult by 3 successive types of people. The first story was told to him by Jewel, a young girl that has no personal memory of the events but learned about them in school and through popular media. This second installment is told through the lens of Doris, who was alive at the time and remembers the terror it caused. Here I'm giving a small sample from the latest installment. Finally, the two of you hit the jackpot: the Temporary Enforcement Division headquarters. Enforcement Division personnel don't wear uniforms. They have name tags at the headquarters, but when they take them off to go out into the world, then there's nothing to identify them. It's better to blend into the background most often. Watching a uniformed police officer walk into Enforcement Division headquarters was a little strange. One of the clerks was headed towards him in a heartbeat. "Hello, officer. Can I help you?" He smiled. "Actually, I'm here to help you." The clerk smiled. "Oh, what can we do for you then? I want every file you have on Crimson." The enforcement officers were confused. How did this human police officer know about Crimson? The clerk wasn't giving in easily. "I'm sorry, who? What kind of files are you looking for? Lieutenant Carrier didn't let her get away with even a bit of this. I know you think I'm going to forget everything as soon as I'm out that door, but I've remembered things well enough to bring me this far. I swear, I'm here to help. Crimson is killing your people and mine. Let me see your files. Maybe I can help. The enforcement officers pretended to agree and took Lieutenant Carrier into a back room. They left him to sit for 15 minutes, then brought another officer that wasn't out front when Lieutenant Carrier showed up. By then, Lieutenant Carrier had completely forgotten everything, and they just happily let him go into the alley. You ended up at dinner with Lieutenant Carrier that evening. I don't even know what happened, he told you. I look at her picture, and I can remember going in and talking to someone in charge, and then the next thing I remember is getting into my patrol car. So then the two of you decided to go in together that Saturday. I happened to be at the Temporary Enforcement Division headquarters the day that you and Lieutenant Carrier walked in. Star had been given her first one by my parents, and we needed to register it. Lieutenant Carrier was in uniform. It was a little unsettling, seeing a human police officer in the enforcement division. By now, the enforcement officers had all discussed Lieutenant Carrier, and it was clear how to handle the two of you. Officer, are you back so soon? The first officer asked. I am, he answered. And I'm not leaving without every file you have on Crimson this time. Of course. Just come with us, and we will set you in a room and get the files right away. You saw right through this. You stepped between Lieutenant Carrier and the officer. No. Bring them here. We aren't leaving this room until we have those files. Who are you? The officer asked. Why don't you pull a wand and find out? You challenged. Someone did. I wasn't sure who, but I saw the flicker of stone wall and expected you to be pressed against the far wall. Instead, you pulled the wand out of your coat and in one slash absorbed all of the Zoe that had been directed at containing you. The officer you had been talking to shook his head. We didn't realize you were an elf. Stand down. You raised your wand and pushed neutralizing fire into his. I'm not an elf. I'm just a boy. A human boy. Now, are we going to do this the easy way? And then your smile grew wide and toothy. Or the fun way?